Hi guys, today I'm going to be reading Captain Underpants. I'm just going to check what chapter. Okay. So. Okay guys, I'm reading chapter 17. Chapter 17 guys, 17 and 18. I'm going to be doing those, so yeah. Chapter 17. On Monday morning, the boys woke up early, gathered their supplies, and headed to school. About 15 minutes before the rest of the students started to arrive, George and Harold carried their stills and supplies into the boys' restroom upstairs and placed them inside one of the empty stalls. Finally, they closed the stall door and locked it. If you were standing outside the stall looking underneath the door, it appeared as if somebody was sitting down and they are taking care of business. George and Harold knew that nobody would dare to go near the stall, so it was now the safest place in the school to hide stuff. Next page. Soon the students began arriving, and the day started pretty much like normal. Mr. Krupp marched up and down the hallway, screaming and making children cry. Kipper and his creep stole money and disturbed Wedgie to the kindergarten, and general feeling to the hopelessness and despair filled the morning air at lunchtime. As usual, the downtrodden kindergartners sat at their table with no food at all. Mr. Krupp stomped up to the kindergarten table and started getting angry. "How come the kids never have any food at lunchtime?" he shouted. Said one kid. "We're on diets." "Oh," said Mr. Krupp as he pulled his belt over his giant stomach. "Well, good," he said. "It's important to stay fit and healthy like me." In the afternoon, George and Harold asked to be excused so they could use the restroom. They only had about 5 minutes to set things up, so they had to hurry. Harold opened the locker door of their secret restroom stall, and George climbed up on the stills. Quickly, they sneaked out into the hallway. George stilled walk over to Kipper's locker and handed him the long spool of shelf-lining paper. Carefully, George placed the paper on top of the lockers and rolled it down to the end. The paper flipped over the edge of the locker tops and rolled down the slide. Harold caught it and tapped the slide of the lockers, making off some measurements with a ruler. George put the padlock that he and Harold had bought on the end of Kipper's paper to lockers down the Kippers. They were ready. Quickly, they put their supplies back into the restroom stall, locked the door, and hurried back to their classroom. At the end of the day, Kipper walked to his locker as usual, and he unlocked his lock with the keys hanging around his neck, then put his padlock on top of his locker, right on top of the long roll of paper. George and Harold were standing about 6 lockers away, where Harold had tapped the end of the paper to the side of the long row of lockers. Now came the tricky part. As Harold provided the cover, George carefully pulled on a long roll of paper. The paper began to move. Kipper's padlock, which was above Kipper's head, began to move away from Kipper. George and Harold's padlock, which was 2 lockers away, began moving towards Kipper. Harold had measured everything carefully, so George knew to pull the paper exactly 24 inches. When he was finished putting the new padlock when he was finished pulling, the new padlock was directly above Kipper's locker. Kipper had just finished stuffing all of his stolen money into his duffel bag. He put his cell phone on the top shelf of his locker, closed the door, then reached up and grabbed George and Harold's padlock. Then he closed the door and clicked the new padlock on securely. Let's boogie, said Kipper to his buddies, and they strutted to the gymnasium to get ready for wrestling practice. That was awesome, said Harold. Yeah, said George, but we've still got lot of work to do. George and Harold waited patiently until almost everybody had gone home. Some kids were still in the gym or outside in the chess club downstairs, but the hallways and restrooms were empty. George and Harold sneaked over to Kipper's locker, unlocked their padlock, and opened the door. Harold unzipped Kipper's duffel bag and emptied all the stolen money onto the floor. Woo, said Harold. There must be thousands of dollars in here. Harold quickly scooped up the stolen cash while George typed on Kipper's cell phone. What are you doing with that phone? Asked Harold. I'm sending a text to Kipper's 3 goons, said George. Once the money was safe and the texts were sent, George and Harold put everything back to the way it was, with 2 additions. Harold put Susie Sunshine Friendship Bracelets kit in Kipper's locker, and George placed an envelope beside Kipper's phone. Finally, George grabbed Kipper's padlock from the top of the lockers, closed the door, and locked it with Kipper's own padlock. Then they set everything up so it would be ready for tomorrow afternoon. Let's get out of here, Harold said nervously. Just one more thing. Quickly, the boys sneaked into the gym locker and left a second envelope inside one of Kipper's smelly shoes. Then they hurried out of the school and headed for home. I kind of wish he could stay and watch the fireworks, said Harold. I think it's better if we're not there, said George. Things are about to get ugly. Chapter 18. Things get ugly. Kipper found the envelope in his shoe just after wrestling practice. Practice ended. He opened it. Inside were 2 friendship bracelets and a note addressed to him. Kipper proudly slipped each friendship bracelet onto his wrist, admitted he couldn't wait to show this to his buddies. Who were all out in the hallway staring their cell phones in shock. Look what Kipper said proudly, waving his wrist at the goons. Kipper's friends, who were all reading the same text, who were all out in the hallway staring at their cell phones in shock. Look what I got. Kipper proudly waving his wrist at the goons. Kipper's friends, who were all reading the same text message on their phones, looked up at Kipper with their mouths hanging open, disbelief. What? Said Kipper. They're just friendship bracelets. Let's make friendship bracelets. Get your supplies and my locker. Whoever makes the prettiest gun gets me a big kiss from me. Kipper's 3 friends looked at each other like Kipper had gone completely mad. I don't want to make friendship bracelets with you, dude, said Loogie. Me neither, said the other 2 thugs similarly. What are you talking about, said Kipper. He unlocked his locker and opened it up. Hey, what the heck is this? Kipper screamed. Somebody's been in my locker. Loogie, Buggy, and Franken saw the Susie Sunshine Bracelet kit and shook their head in disgust. Kipper kicked the kit into the hallway and stomped on it. Then he tore open his duffel bag. It was empty. "Ah!" Kipper screamed. "Somebody stole all my money." Kipper looked up and down the hall frantically. "When I find out who's been in my locker, I'm gonna kiss them," asked Frankenstein. The other 2 thugs laughed. Kipper grabbed Franken by his shirt collar and shook him back and forth like a rag doll. "What are you talking about?" he screamed. "This is Franken." He showed Kipper the text phone that had been sent to Kipper's cell phone. "I didn't write that," said Kipper, screamed. "Well, what's up with those friendship bracelets on your wrist then?" asked Bug. "The cheerleaders gave me those," said Kipper. At the very moment, a group of cheerleaders was coming in from practice outside. "I'll prove it," said Kipper. He showed the bracelets to them, cheerleaders waving his wrist at them like lunatics. "You guys made this for me, right?" said Kipper. Asked them, pointing disappointedly at the bracelets. The cheerleaders gave Kipper a straight look. "Ew," said Wendy Swan, the cheerleader. Kipper blinked his eyes like a crazy person. He began breathing heavily. He clenched his fist and shook in rage. Kipper's friends glanced at each other and exchanged with silent, worried look. They each took a few steps backwards if they feared Kipper might explode. Hey, we'll see you later," Susie Sunshine said. Loogie. The 3 thugs walked away, laughing, leaving Kipper alone and present. Finally, Kipper returned to his locker. He grabbed his cell phone and found an envelope beside it. Kipper tore the envelope open with an insane rage and read the note inside. "I'm coming for you," signed Wedgie Maggie. So, guys, make sure to read these Captain Underpants. And, yeah. They're really good books, like every video. If you haven't watched the other chapters, go watch them now. And kept out of this book. You can read it, pause it if you want, and have a good day, boys and G's.